Hello everyone, welcome back to my commentary channel and thank you for joining me here today. I'm going to be frank with you, this video is going to be a little tricky. I have to ask you to dissect some media with me, but not in a write-off YouTube movie review channel way where we just go, yeah, this is good, or ew, this is bad. I've seen too many people approach the two subjects we're comparing today without a lot of nuance, and I don't think that gives enough credit to the original authors. And fair warning, the things we're talking about today contain heavy subjects, but I do think that these things are worth diving into, as long as we do it right. So we're going to be going into this with nuance and kindness, and as long as you're accepting of those terms, I think we can start the video. When I was in my high school film class, my favorite project that we would do were the short films. Short films don't have hours to tell their stories like movies do. They're short and succinct, so every second has to count. There is a greater emphasis on the acting and visual elements as well, since every aspect has to aid the story. It's a challenge to pull off a short film in the right way. And making these short films was a challenge. We often weren't allowed to use dialogue, so we had to rely on visual cues and images to convey messages. They were asking 14-year-olds to do that. It was brutal. The point is, I have reviewed a lot of short films. 4 years of high school film plus 4 years of film school education has put me in front of arguably hundreds of short films. And I have to say, they weren't all winners. And that's no offense to the filmmakers, because again, these things are really hard to pull off. Okay, some offense to these filmmakers, because a lot of them were smug and they thought they were God's gift to film. Anyway, I bring this up in order to say that I am not talking out of my ass when it comes to short films. I've studied them, I've watched hours of them, I've tried making them. So I know what I'm talking about, at least a little. Now with all of that in mind, I have to introduce the first subject of today's video. Sean McLaughlin is an Irish gaming YouTuber known most often by his gaming videos. He's been uploading since 2012, and he's built up a monumental audience of 27.3 million subscribers. He's a large face of the YouTube gaming community. He runs a coffee brand on the side, and he donates to charities often. I've always been aware of Sean's presence on YouTube, but because I don't engage with gaming content very much, I just never really engaged with his channel. From what I know, he makes fun Let's Play videos, but I wasn't really following his career until recently. A few months ago, Sean posted a video regarding the tragic loss of his father. He was very upfront and vocal about how it was affecting him, and though a lot of his fans showed him compassion and support, a significant amount took the opportunity to make insensitive jokes about it. Because some people just don't understand decency, I guess, a large amount of replies to Sean's statement were making gaming references to death, trying to turn it into a joke, or claiming that Sean was clout chasing just for making a post about it. Absolutely irredeemable behavior. Despite all of this, Sean eventually came back after a break to return to his regular content. And then, after a few months of posting regularly, he uploaded an entirely different video, a short film titled 15 Months. 15 Months is a beautiful movie. The self-autobiographical film recounts what anxiety and upholding a performance in a pandemic-induced isolation chamber does to a person. The story is deeply personal and doesn't hold back from showing an uncomfortable perspective of a tortured individual. But we're going to come back to this short film in a minute. Before that, we have one more subject to introduce. Bo Burnham is a stand-up comedian and musician who has seen massive renown from his comedy specials. He started on YouTube in 2006, where his creativity led him to higher and more successful endeavors. I'm personally a big fan of Bo's comedic style, and the movie he directed is one of my all-time favorites. He seems like a very cool and creative person, and I do think that his recognition in pop culture is well-deserved. A few months ago, Netflix posted a new Bo Burnham comedy special titled Inside after his 5-year break. It was widely regarded by his old fans as his best work, and it introduced him to a massive new market of people just now discovering who he was. As someone who spent a majority of the pandemic alone and throwing myself into creative work, I empathized a lot with his struggle over the creative process. And seeing those shots of him talking into the void of the camera lens was all too relatable because I had been in that situation before. I personally enjoyed Inside tremendously. And so did my whole family. I'll be in one corner of the house and I'll hear my mom playing one of his songs on the speaker a few floors away. We're all kind of big fans. The self-autobiographical film recounts what anxiety in upholding a performance in a pandemic-induced isolation chamber does to a person. The story is deeply personal and doesn't hold back from showing an uncomfortable perspective of a tortured individual. Wait, hang on. That's exactly what I said. Yes, now we have to address the main focus of today's video. And that is the fact that these two pieces of media, though they have their differences, have some really striking and significant similarities. After Bo Burnham's Inside came out, you saw a lot of people's reviews using similar techniques borrowed from the special itself. You saw the white t-shirts, the multicolored lights, and filming in a mirror, all taken directly from the source. Additionally, you saw a lot of musical covers of Bo's songs, and TikTok got so obsessed with the audio clips taken from the show that now, whenever I hear my mom play a song from a few floors away, my gut reaction is to think of TikTok, which is not the reaction I want. I say this because it's very obvious that a lot of the internet took direct inspiration from Bo Burnham's work. And a lot of it is upfront and in your face, but a lot of it is more subtle as well. And that's when we come back to 15 months. On my first watch of 15 months, I was so caught up in the story that I wasn't thinking about anything else. The pain conveyed through the visuals spoke to me, and I found myself completely engaged with what I was being shown. That is, until I reached the final shot of the film, which is a 30-second shot of a slow zoom-in into the front-facing lens of a camera. And this is when my immersion broke, because this is the exact same technique that Bo Burnham used in Inside. Twice. I didn't think too much of it until I scrolled into the comments and saw that there was a huge fight about that exact thing happening. People were calling it plagiarism to borrow that shot exactly, and then other fans were defending Sean by arguing over artistic expression, and nobody was convincing anyone of the other's point. It was a mess. But it inspired me to rewatch the short with a new perspective, and sure enough, that wasn't where the similarities ended. The noteworthy comparisons are the use of projectors, the close-up shots on brightly lit eyes, shifting borders, the concept of watching oneself, and that one shot of the camera, as well as similar topics in general about mental health and performance. And I should note that, obviously, there are more differences between the two than there are similarities. They are different videos. One is non-verbal, one is a musical, one features nature, and one is strictly indoors. They're different lengths, and they're told through separate perspectives. You understand. But the few similarities there are significant. Because the topics line up so well, and some of these shots could be mirror opposites of the other, it kind of invites a comparison. I don't think it needs to be included in the fights in a comment section, but it is worth thinking about. And also, let's be honest here, Bo Burnham's special came out before Sean's video, but let's not pretend that Bo Burnham invented any of the techniques used in Inside. That film language has been around for decades. Nobody should be attributing the ownership of these tropes to either of these creators. So these two projects have similar features, enough to the point to where there's a fight about it in Sean's comments. But as someone who has seen a lot of short films and has watched both Inside and 15 Months, I have to ask myself, is this really such a big deal? That's not the real name of this section of the video, I just thought that'd be funny. Bo Burnham's special came out on May 30th, 2021. Sean's video came out on July 21st, 2021. If anyone copied anyone, it would fall on the Jacksepticeye channel. But there's just no proof that this is what that is. Obviously, we don't have evidence that Sean watched Inside and then said, oh hey, I'm gonna copy this. Like, that doesn't exist. But regardless, I really don't think it matters that much. Though both creators used similar techniques, I'd argue that they're both used in ways that mean different things to the creator. I keep saying that I watched hundreds of short films. Do you know how similar all of those short films were? A lot of film students take direct inspiration from the movies that they enjoy. I have seen countless short films that are just Quentin Tarantino fan fictions, you know, like these people see what they like and they try to use those techniques in their own work. That's filmmaking. Nobody's filming anything original. I'm approaching this as an audience member who has seen both medias, but since these are personal stories, maybe they're conveying unique messages here. I think Bo approached making his special with a specific lens about critiquing internet culture and how the isolation of the pandemic eats away at someone's sense of self. And I think Sean made his short film in an attempt to convey to his audience his personal life and how his intense emotions of anxiety and loss seep into his work and well-being. Both are about creatives, both are about mental health, and both use similar film language. But because the stories they tell are personal, the differences come down to the individual, and that is where it makes a world of difference. I would venture that, yes, Sean watched Inside and used some of those techniques in his own film. But so did a lot of people. I mentioned those reviewers earlier who just took Bo Burnham's style. I didn't say anything bad about that. You are allowed to be inspired by things, and even if it's taken directly from a different source, that doesn't warrant complaints about comparison. There's really nothing to complain about at the end of the day. I didn't make this video just because I saw elements of Bo's work in Sean's project. I made this video because of the fighting I saw in the comments about inspiration versus imitation, borrowing versus plagiarism, all of that. I think Sean is trying to tell a personal story that stems from his pain and tragedy. I don't think he deserves comments calling him a Bo Burnham copycat. But because this is the internet, I can see Bo Burnham fans getting upset by this, and I can see Jacksepticeye fans getting upset right back. And maybe just all of that isn't necessary. When it comes to artistic and creative measures, maybe we just need to accept that two similar things can exist at the same time. We don't have to demonize anybody. Wouldn't that be nice? I really wanted to end this video with a joke where I filmed the camera just like the other two things did, but then I realized that in order to film a camera, you need a second camera. I only own the one, but I still want to try to pull off this joke, so I'm just gonna use my phone and hope it turns out well. Yeah, it's just not the same. Thank you for watching, and thank you to all of my new supporters on Patreon who are now financially supporting this channel. These wonderful people are helping me do what I want to do, and I love them for it. You all rock. I hope you have extra good days. And if you would like your name tattooed on my video forever, my Patreon link will be in my description. If you would like to see more videos from me, I will leave some suggestions on screen as well as my social medias if you would like to see me off of YouTube. I hope you're all staying healthy and staying safe. Be sure to take care of yourself and others. I know this sounds like grandma advice, but I don't care. Do it anyway. I'll see you here for the next video. I love you lots. Goodbye.